Hey there, welcome to another episode of the Saturday Morning Nerd Out. I'm so glad everyone's here with us. For everyone that is morning, good morning. Hopefully you're caffeinated, you have your giant bowl of cereal, merch pending, and let's get ready to nerd out. So without further introduction, I am Graveyard, and I'm always proud to introduce the Chaos Queen herself, the phraziest person I know, the one and only Corglisi, Frey Girl.
Hi, everybody. You know what? I'm so glad I was just saying to Husby, because I always say, well, what am I going to choose? And I said, I went with Chaos Queen, which is very apt for me. So thank you. I appreciate you mentioning that. I do. And you're just purely Graveyard, except, depraved gourd.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, someone special gave that depraved gourd Garbage Pail Kid's name to me, so.
There you go. And, I think it's awesome and very clever.
Oh, yeah.
Enough about that particular thing.
Mm-hmm. So how are you doing this afternoon for us?
Yeah. It's all about perspective. It's all about perspective.
So, yeah, hopefully, we already have. Hey, Thomas, how's it going?
Hey, Thomas.
We appreciate you jumping in, and make sure to check it out after it's done, too. So, always welcome. We love seeing you in our streams all the time. You're always here. We appreciate it very, very
much. It's always nice to see you and to get your comments. It's always a fun time. But thanks for stopping by and saying hi.
Yes. All right. Not big things in nerdy news this week, really, has there been?
No, not really. I mean, I just saw this morning a picture of Winona Ryder from Beetlejuice, but she's like in a car and stuff, and I was like, are we sure that's from the set, or is that just her just hanging out? Because it's like her hair's up and like a messy bun type thing, and I'm like, she could just be going to get groceries, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
And with Winona Ryder, you never know nowadays. So
exactly. Let's say some of that Beetlejuice talk for
later. Yeah. Yes. That was like the thing. I woke up and was like scrolled down Twitter for a little bit, and I was like, hey, look, there's a picture of Winona Ryder. Oh, this says that this is on the set. So
we won't know until we see it. You never know. Behind the scenes sets, pictures are always iffy at best.
Well, and if they don't use the shot, or something, then you may not even see it in the film. And yeah. But
well, then, people go, oh, I saw that behind the scenes. It's not there. And they start complaining.
Release the extended cut. That's like the new mantra of the nerds that want to know everything, that want to absorb the whole experience. And it's like, some things deserve to be cut, guys. That's just what it is. Some things deserve to be cut.
Well, it's no different than us just screaming encore at shows. So
that's true. Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's a good sign of nerdom, is that we want more. If we go, no, we're good, we don't need to see anymore, then there's a problem with whatever that show is, or movie, or whatever it may be.
I guess for me, it's more not that I don't want to see the stuff. It's that I don't, if the director is happy with the product and doesn't want to release, they're like, no, I don't want to release. Some directors will release out, like James Gunn has been like releasing just like random stuff on his socials about like behind the scenes stuff that you wouldn't really get, and it may not be something you would want in like a like if you bought the physical copy, the extra stuff like bloopers and things like that. It's not, I don't know if some of that's, some people would want it, but so I appreciate that he's doing that, but he's not going to release another cut. He was happy with the product that he made, but then you've got like the Zack Snyder, which I'll talk about later more in depth, but how he was like, no, I want to release my own Justice League cut. And, they're trying to save this franchise. And so I appreciate that, but didn't have to be over 4 hours long.
Are you sure?
As I've seen it several times. Yes, I'm sure. It's like, it's half my day. It's like, okay, I've got to block out 5 hours to watch this movie. And I don't know, it's a lot. It's a time commitment.
Commitment. So, I mean, it's no different than Lord of the Rings extended editions that are like 4 hours each. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I will just watch the regular theatrical cut if I want to. But there are certain things about the Snyder cut that I really enjoy. So, again, I'll talk about that later.
All right.
What's a
Well,
later thing?
since we're on the topic of DC, let's talk about. I know you discussed this on Tuesday a little bit, but let's go ahead and discuss Superman casting. I want to know your thoughts because DC, yay! I don't particularly care who's Superman. I want to know, Frey, what your thoughts are.
He's just like, yay. So the guy that they're talking about, I think it's David Cornsweet. And, he looks the part. He has more of I was going to say George Reeves. Sorry.
You went really old school for that one.
Really far back. But yeah, he has more of that, early, 70s, 80s Superman look. And I like that because I feel like you can't have the Blue Boy Scout and have him so freaking emo. Then he's not the Blue Boy Scout, right? So you do have to have that hope. So I think in his facial structure, I haven't seen a lot of stuff that he's been in. I probably need to go ahead and do that just to look at it. I would, but just by the look of him, I think he would be a good successor to what's the guy's first? I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. I'm not awake. Christopher yes. Reeves. George Reeves was also in Gone with the Wind, by the way. He was one of the Charlton twins. I don't know why that's in my brain this morning, but okay. So I just honestly, I think you have to have the right look. And if he's going, and James wants hope, and he does look like he has a hopeful face. He's not weighed down by the world, it looks like. And I think that that's something that Superman needs to have in order to be Superman. If you're going to embody hope, you should at least have a hopeful face. And I love Henry Cavill as Superman. Thought he did a really good job. But he just wasn't hopeful. He was not. He struggled with so many emotions, and I felt like the struggle was more important than him actually being a role model for people of Earth.
Gotcha. So. Now, let me ask you this as a DC fan. Do you I have this discussion a lot with my co-hosts of the pod. Do you think that the Blue Boy Scout is boring in itself and therefore requires to have the internal struggle because externally nothing can really hurt him?
I think, well, when they did the whole magic thing, I think that humanized him a little, as far as he is vulnerable to something other than kryptonite, which is super, you can't find it anywhere kind of thing. But I honestly think that him being a role model, being an alien, when he first came on the scene back in 29, I think,
something like that. Yeah.
He was an allegory of prejudice. He was the ideal of, hey, look, I'm an immigrant and I'm gonna help everyone. I'm going to be the hope for the future. And I think we've really gotten away from that. Now, granted, we're almost at 100 years for him. So, yeah, we've changed a lot as a society. But hope is hope. I mean, if Ted Lasso hasn't taught us anything, if you go away from Ted Lasso with one message, it should be kindness. And I think we need that now. If we're going to have art imitate life or art affect life, having hopeful characters again, I think is a good first start. I like him. I want to see what they do with it, because you can be a hopeful person and have horrible things happen and still retain your hope for society in general. I think that's where it is. I don't think it's that he's boring. I just think that whole, oh, his views are old fashioned. I think that's great if they do it right. And I think that was what missed the point. You know, Zack Snyder wanted to make him an edgelord and, you know, emo and at the time, yeah, I mean, I get it, but it's like, okay, this guy can do anything. He can do any. The reason he doesn't accidentally kill people is because he's so restrained. He has to restrain every single movement all day long. And I get that, but he also gets all of his energy from a yellow sun. So, you know, yay vitamin D, I guess. I don't know where I'm going with that. So yeah, I mean, I think that casting is good, and the other two guys that they have, and I can't remember their names right now, but the other two options, they also look good. One of them looks a little, I don't know, maybe it's just a picture they chose because he's like a mustache, a little like goatee looking thing, and I'm like, no.
CGI removal of mustaches and goatees again? I'm in it. Let's do it.
Right. But yeah, I'm like, okay. Like, all right, they look okay. That's cool. And yeah, so I think whoever they get, whether it's somebody we know or somebody we don't know, I think it will be the person for the job. I mean, James does really well with casting. The most recent thing we've seen from him, where his screenplay had actual drawn pictures of the characters and what they were going to do.
Yeah.
The more I see of what he did for Guardians 3, which is the thing that he's done right before he'll do Superman Legacy, I feel like it's in good hands, and I'm more willing to trust what he's going to do than not trust what he's going to do. So if he says, this is your Superman, peeps, I'm going to be like, okay. So I don't know if that's the right way to think about it, but I feel like he's earned my trust and benefit of the doubt in that aspect.
So if you were able to pick one person to play Superman, who would your fan cast be?
Why do you do this to me? Why do you do this to me?
Because you know this better than I do. Like I said, I don't care.
I don't I am, gosh, I don't know. There's so many young bucks that that could be Superman. I was thinking, I'm watching Love and Death. I'm like obsessed with it on HBO Max right now, and the guy that plays Jesse, or not plays Jesse, he plays Alan Gore, and he looks horrible in the show. They meant him to, like, he's not supposed to be a looker, but I've seen pictures of him lately, and he's like fit, and he's a ginger, but he would be he's got the gravitas to be a Superman, but I've seen him to be Clark Kent, but I've seen him do comedic roles. He was in Game Night, if you've seen that.
Yeah.
He plays the cop, Gary, in it. And he's got some really comedic
Jesse
stuff.
Pinkman?
It's Jesse Plemons.
Plemons, yeah.
And I thought, man, he's actually, he's really good in this. And so seeing him in this, where he's playing a drama, and I was like, you know what? He might be good. Like, if they were going a little older, because he is a little bit older. He's also married to Kirsten Dunst, believe it or not. But yeah, I think that he would be really good. I guess there is a guy that, and he was, what is his name? Oh my gosh.
While you're thinking about that, a person deserving of her own enterprise and captain position, the one and only Captain Lady Moon's here.
Hey!
I just got my coffee here.
There you go.
But yeah, I think he might be good as far as if we're just looking for an actor that's really good.
Mhm.
Does he would be really good. Now he's been in my head because I've been watching the show.
Right.
He is in who?
Jesse Plemons. He is in Love and Death on HBO Max, and he was in Game Night. He played the cop in Game Night. He's a pretty good actor. Although he would also be a good Doctor Who too. I can't wait for them to get a ginger Doctor Who, so that I'm like, come on.
Didn't they
Well-
have a ginger Doctor Who though?
They've had ginger companions, but not Doctor Who.
Mhm.
Oh, I thought not David Tennant, the other guy, the guy after him. I thought he was a ginger.
Matt Smith?
Yeah, I thought Matt Smith was a ginger.
Oh no, he's brunette.
Yeah.
He's really?
Yeah.
Mhm.
He's got
He
ginger.
says
Okay.
he actually goes, "Oh God, what's the color of my hair?" And he goes, "Oh, not a ginger. Okay, great." Like actually, that has that line with, but Amelia Pond, Karen Gillan, she was a ginger. Yeah. So is Catherine Tate, Donna.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's a talking about Doctor Who. I mean,
Doctor Y. What?
Doctor what?
Oh, for the 60th anniversary, David Tennant's coming back.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, you
That would be
Oh,
awesome.
he's definitely coming back. And
I actually saw the episode live where he actually was his premiering of the show.
Oh yeah.
On the show, which was really I mean, I didn't know anything about Doctor Who, and my friend was watching the show, and so I got on. I'm like, what is this weird show? And then the end, he regenerates and becomes it's David Tennant, and I'm like, I had no idea it was this huge giant phenomenon was about to start with Doctor Who and like a whole new thing.
Yeah,
So,
no,
crazy.
I watched it. I watched when they rebooted it and did Eccleston, and then went to Tennant, and then went to Matt Smith, and then I just couldn't. I couldn't get around Capaldi for some reason, and watched a little bit when. I can't even remember her name now. I am not awake. Yeah, I
Female
watched
doctor.
a couple. I watched a couple of hers, and I thought it was great, but I just never got back into it. So
I've heard,
I need to go back and watch that. So.
Well, I mean, I've watched some reviews of it and some critiques, and I mean, as far as stories go, the writing is not very good. It's not. It has nothing to do with Doctor Who with her being a woman or anything else. There's just some flaws in the writing, and I could see why people had a hard time.
They picked somebody else, like a showrunner, another new showrunner had taken over, and so I think they were trying to do a different type of writing, and it just didn't, from what I understand, didn't gel well with what had come before it. So that was.
It wasn't even just they did a lot of forgetting of things. Well, they would just have there'd be plot points or there'd be character character flaws or characteristics that were just dropped halfway through, or that they only mentioned once and then were promptly forgot about the rest.
Yeah.
Or things would just come up when the plot needed them to. Only for that episode and then never talked about again. There's some inconsistencies there, but yeah, I guess they went back to the formula that they know worked. And I mean, if you have a well-written story, it's a well-written story no matter what your change is. But I mean, people are often more critical when things change. So
yeah, I mean, absolutely. And it's hard to follow David Tennant or Matt Smith. I mean, honestly, because they both knocked it out of the park. So I was really excited to see the trailer for David Tennant coming back, just as was it a interim doctor? So, because he's going to be back just for the 60th special, and at the end they're having the new guy do it. So, and there's this. I don't know. It's people are talking about serving up the C word, and I don't know what that means. I need to look it up. So I'm like, I don't know what that means. And
the C word?
Yeah. So
We're not going to guess what it is.
No.
Actually, I can
It's
guess.
a
It's probably one of my.
four-letter word.
It's
and
probably one of my
very British.
favorite words in the English language.
Yeah, probably.
It
Yeah.
actually is. I'm pretty certain it's. I mean, the connotations are not very nice.
Yeah, but it's just like people have been saying it, and I'm like, I don't know what this means, so I'm just
It's
gonna
actually a
go
lot
with it.
more offensive in America than it is
Yeah.
in Britain.
No,
Actually,
and I
though.
mean in England it is very
Mhm.
like common to say it, and I'm just
Mhm.
like, okay, well.
So, Ray,
Anyway.
how do you feel about Tenet coming back? I know you said you stopped watching after Smith, right? I mean, are you
Yeah.
excited for this to happen?
Oh, I love David Tennant. I love him. I loved him in this. I've loved him in Good Omens. I loved him in Jessica Jones. I mean,
Yeah, I loved him in Jessica Jones.
yeah,
Oof,
he
man,
was so
that man
good.
chewed up all the scenery.
Yeah, but he did it in such a way that
Oh no,
you
no, I
wanted
don't mean
him
it
to
in a
feed
bad
it
way.
to you.
No,
Like you're
you
like,
wanted
"Ooh,
him
give
to
us
do
some
that.
more."
Yeah, no.
Yeah. It was, yeah, I love him. He's always like, he was a fun doctor that turned into the sexy doctor, and nobody really knows why, because he's David Tennant. He's a goofball. But
Because Goofy is sexy.
yeah, I mean, obviously. But yeah, I mean, him and Rose's relationship, and yeah. So I mean, I think him coming back is a great nod and fan service.
Mhm.
And it's something he didn't have to commit like a whole lot of time to, because he's so busy
Yeah.
and it to me, I think it's brilliant to get people back in. And I know they've got, what is it, Stephen Moffat's back, I think, or no, it's Russell.
Well, there's
Oh.
isn't
I think I
Catherine
saw the
Tate back
50th.
as well?
Hmm?
Isn't Catherine Tate back as well?
Yeah, well, the 60th anniversary is kind of tying up her story, because when he left her, he had to leave her because he said if she remembered he was the doctor, she would die.
Mm.
There was something he couldn't do, which is why Matt Smith was so reluctant to let go of Clara, is because of what happened to him when he was David Tennant and Donna. And so this is wrapping that up. And I think that that's really cool, especially since the actor who played her father recently passed away, that he might be, I don't know if he's in it. I don't know if they got to film it before he passed, but he recently passed away. So it's kind of a nice, like, here's
Send
the
off,
ending to
in a
her
way.
story. And also we're going to kind of do a little thing for this guy who was beloved. I mean, beloved is this old man. And yeah, so I think I think it's gonna be fun. I think I think that's what it needs. I think, Doctor Who sometimes, especially now, it just gets really serious with itself. And it's like after
supposed to be
freaking Matt
fun.
Smith left, it was like, no, we're gonna tell serious stories, and it's like, no, Doctor Who is supposed to be fun and campy, and
You can still tell.
occasionally it's horror. I mean,
You can tell serious stories. Like Blink was a great story.
oh yeah,
Great,
oh yeah,
great horror, serious story.
mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, and they had a couple others
And the
of the
60th,
Weeping Angels.
yeah, and the 60th, or not 60th, the 50th anniversary was actually quite serious and quite sad. Actually, it was a really sad
Oh, it was very
episode.
sad.
I think I
But we found
cried.
out what Bad Wolf meant, and I really appreciated that.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I appreciated that we got to see Matt Smith and David Tennant both as the Doctor and interact with each other, because that's what I wanted.
Yes.
They're both phenomenal, and they both knew what they were doing.
They were
as
so
the
good.
Doctor.
It was such a good. Yeah, that was. I've watched so little of Doctor Who, though. Even though I'm a big fan, I haven't seen a lot of it. Unfortunately, I need to go and find someone. What I mean by that is I need to go and get with my Doctor Who friends and do a big watch party of, and just like binge it, because I haven't seen enough of it because, well, I just don't really have television, but I need to go see more of it. It's not like, Stargate SG-1 or Star Trek, where wow, why is it that I have a lot of these shows that have an S that have a star in it that I'm like, yay! I've like binged the crap out of all of them.
Hey, you know what? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm
We
on
all
the
we love
roster.
love all of our fandoms. You know.
Yes.
Yes, I love how you have a Superman coffee cup and I have my Star Trek coffee cup.
Mine? Oh, it's Wonder Woman.
Oh, is it Wonder Woman? It looked like it was Superman for a minute. I thought he was
Yeah,
also
well,
Wonder Woman.
where I had it, and it's actually in the style of
It is. It's the
of what
comic
they
book
did,
stuff.
like back in
Awesome.
the 80s and the 90s. So
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah,
What do you
so-
have to say about it, Matt? Matt?
Matt, who's Matt? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know why I just called you Matt. I'm so sorry. I meant
the man
Vampy.
of many names.
So I started watching Doctor Who. Growing up, I had a friend who was really obsessed with the one with the scarf, the most iconic
Tom
one.
Baker.
Yes, Tom Baker.
Yeah.
He was obsessed with it. He had the outfit, he had the wig to get the curly hair and stuff like that. I started watching that too, and it came back with Christopher Eccleston,
Oh yeah.
and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And then the Christmas special happened, and David Tennant came in, and I stopped watching.
That's what it was. That was the Christmas. It was the Christmas special. That was what I watched because I watched.
Yeah.
I watched his premiere. So him coming in, which was really funny. I was like, "What is this show?" I had no idea what it was
And
about.
you know, at that point in time, I didn't really know much about David Tennant, and I thought Chris Eccleston did an amazing job, and he got
did.
so much crap from the fans that they
Yeah.
got rid of him, and to the point he's distanced himself completely from the show. And
That's so sad.
and I don't like it because, you know, like I said, David Tennant is a great actor.
Yeah.
I thought Chris did a fantastic job of being semi-serious and semi-funny, while Tennant was more funny than anything else.
Yeah.
So
Oh, he could be serious because Blink was a very serious episode, and it was very much horror.
yeah.
Yeah.
But like I said,
Right,
it's just, for me to, like I said, I have lots of fandoms too, and I binge watch the crap out of lots of stuff when I get to it. And I started watching it. Even the wife, who's a huge David Tennant fan, especially because of Harry Potter being, you know, Bartleby Jr., and she goes, "I can't watch this."
Yeah.
And
Wow.
so we stopped watching it. So, you know, having him come back for the 60th, I'm sure lots of people are very excited for it, you know. And I really liked Billy Piper as well as the companion. And obviously, eventually, all companions end up going away eventually. And, you know, it's hard for me to watch something like this because you know that they're going to get replaced at some point in time, the companion and the Doctor. And, you know, knowing what I know about Doctor Who, they're already past the number of doctors they're allowed to have. I don't know how they're going to explain it, or other than just going, because that's always been the thing. There's only allowed to be 13 doctors.
Mm-hmm.
And just canonically, if you know, because the radio shows are supposed to be canon as well, they're already past that number. They were past the number before I don't remember her name became the Doctor. So
Right.
it's interesting to see it. They could just go, "Hey, we were wrong about the number of reincarnations that could potentially happen."
I thought they explained that in the 50th. They explained it a little in the 50th that the number itself wasn't important. Like they just said a number.
It was arbitrary, yeah.
Yeah, it was very like arbitrary. And that since the Doctor has broken the rules of like the Gallifreyan rules of all of the regenerations, that he actually can go further. And something about River's song, which you probably have no idea about, but she was also part Doctor, and she like gave up a lot of her regenerations to give to him or something, so that kind of reset his stuff. And so I mean, there are a lot of like different things that they could pull on to say, oh no, it's really this, oh no, it's really that. But yeah, actually Capaldi would have been the 13th Doctor.
Yeah.
And so the newest Doctor is like 15, I think. And then they bring in David Tennant back, so he might be 16. So, you know, it's just really odd.
Yeah, that or he's going to come back as a like flashbacks, or it's going to be a timey-wimey, wobbly.
No, he's actually they regenerated into him.
Oh,
like that's
But does he? But if you regenerate back to your previous Doctor, does that count as a new iteration, or does it count?
Yeah, so that's like that's what I'm interested in with
Mhm.
the 60th. How are they bringing him back? Like, is it like, because he's gonna be with a different companion, not the one that's coming on with the new Doctor.
Right.
But it's one of those, like, he has to come back for that reason for Donna. Like Donna, has to recognize him.
Yeah.
And didn't they
like
have
that,
sort of?
so.
Wasn't there like a really like a huge romance between them, or there was something? Can't
Donna
remember
and
that
him?
much.
No,
Yeah,
they were
no.
always just like best friends kind
Okay.
of thing. Yeah, I mean, it was more brother sistery thing, and so yeah,
Okay.
so that, I mean, it was just that she can't remember him or she'll die, and he
Mhm.
doesn't want her to die. And
No.
she was the one right after Rose, so he was very fragile.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It was
Well,
Rose.
no,
Rose was it Rose?
she wasn't right after Rose, but she was after the one after Rose, which I
Mhm.
can't remember her name. Gosh, I'm not up on my Doctor Who like I
Yeah.
should
See, I
be.
need to go and watch it all again because I mean I
It's a
yeah.
lot. I mean, it's a
There's a
lot of
lot of
lore.
Doctor Who.
It's a lot
60
of lore.
years is a lot.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
I mean, they had
So,
15-year time gap in there too, though.
well, and they had that
Yeah, it's true.
the eighth Doctor that was in America, which I've always thought was
Mhm.
extremely funny. And I'm like, yeah, I'm glad you guys are keeping him. I just thought it was an interesting movie.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
Interesting.
speaking of timey-wimey stuff, let's go on to the TVA and discuss Loki and Echo Drops.
I love that it's Echo Drops.
I
mean,
have no
I know that,
idea. I have no idea about any of this because I don't have Apple Plus, so
It's
it's
not
hard
that.
for me.
Oh,
But I can still comment.
Disney Plus.
So, Frey,
I'm at Disney Plus.
I know
No, you're fine.
you binge watched
Oh, okay.
Loki for something very recently, right?
No,
Or you're watching Guardians.
I was watching Guardians, and no, I mean, I've seen Loki enough that I remember it. And I watched it for Quantum Mania. I watched the last episode for Quantum Mania to get the Kang stuff back
Mhm.
in my head before I saw it. Well, I mean, a lot of stuff has happened between Quantum Mania and now, so I'm really interested to see how this show goes, and I'm actually excited that it's smack dab in the summer. No, not at all. Even though they told us that that's when it would be. They liar, Disney, lying. But I am excited that we're getting it this year. And I know it's gonna be, they're basically gonna be chasing down Kang, trying to find him in time to find out
Interesting.
exactly what started and why he's so heck bent on running the TVA and why he even made it a thing, And so I'm interested in that. I definitely think Loki needed a season 2. I think it's actually way more important than a lot of people think.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It actually introduced us to the multiverse, and that's a big deal right now. So I think it might even get a 3rd season.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you obviously this is a TV show. We haven't really seen, I guess we saw Wanda come back in Doctor Strange, but do you feel that we will get Loki back into the main MCU movies and off of TV?
I think he'll be in movies. I think that he's not just like in credit scenes or anything. I think he actually may show up in something. I don't know if he's gonna. I doubt he'll show up in Secret Invasion. Now watch, he's gonna like show up in Secret Invasion because I just said that he won't. But yeah, I really honestly, he will be. I think right now because we feel like we see him so much because he's on a TV show. So it's like, because it's 6 episodes, so that's 6 appearances over like a month and a half. And as soon as his season ends, Echo starts. So it's like we'll have consistent Disney Plus stuff for a while, for about 2.5 months.
But except Echo's dropping all at once.
Yeah, I know. Which
So
I'm upset about, actually. Not because I don't want to see it all at once, but because I feel like they're dumping it and not giving it the attention that it needs.
do you think the dump has to do with the strike?
No, I think the dump has to do with they said they were going to do it and then didn't have everyone in place to do it, and didn't know where the story was going to go, and where the story went wasn't as important as, say, Daredevil Born Again.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I think it's that, and it's part of the I'm gonna, the she you. I'm sure that's a lot of backlash for that, and it doesn't deserve it because as a character, she embodies a lot of different types. Like she's a strong woman. She's also deaf, but she can still kick ass. And so it's like, it's such a positive role model for young women who may not be the norm, may not be what everybody thinks of as a hero or an anti-hero. And I mean, she faced Kingpin and she survived.
Yeah.
There are not very many people that do that. Like Daredevil and her and maybe some of the Avengers. That's about it. Everybody else dies. So
There's a reason why it's called the Kingpin.
exactly. So that's that's why I'm like, well, I don't know. It put my nose out of joint. I'll just say that.
So I know, Captain, you haven't seen some of these things, but
I've seen most of them.
I want to get your thoughts because Kingpin came back in Hawkeye and Kingpin came back in Echo. So we're getting.
So I don't know who Echo is. So I guess I'm a little lost on who Echo is.
She is she's Native American. She has she's deaf, but she's able to fight like Daredevil without really any superpowers.
Okay.
So, but I want to hear what you think of, especially because of Kingpin. I know Kingpin is from Daredevil. Vincent D'Onofrio coming back.
Yes, Vincent D'Onofrio is a really great Kingpin. So I'm sure he did phenomenal. He's a fantastic actor, and he's a really good physical actor.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like you really feel his presence when he's on screen, and I like that he's not your basic black and white, villain. He's very nuanced. He's a very nuanced villain, which is something that I think they really tried to have that come through. That he's really quite nuanced.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they brought him back and how all of that would work. But I think anything, if they keep to the formula for the most part with Daredevil, I mean, I'm sure it was good. I don't know. So when you mean like Echo dropped,
he was basically the same as he was in the Netflix Daredevil series.
Good.
But a little bit more. I don't want to say he was a little bit
less
more
nuanced?
Sinister. No,
Okay.
he was like, talk about chewing up some scenery. He chewed up some scenery in Hawkeye. Like,
I mean, he's good. He's
way.
good for chewing up scenery. Yeah, he's a very intense actor.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And you can see that even when he plays good guys, he's super intense.
Yeah.
Like, he's kind of downright scary sometimes. Like you're like, are you a sociopath or something?
He's just. Really
he's very much
playing that.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of like Brad Dourif, right? It's kind of like that level of that almost sinister,
right.
Where Brad Dourif kind of comes off more on the insane side.
Slimy.
Yeah.
No, I don't know if Brad Dourif is necessarily slimy. He comes off to me more like if I was in a room with Brad Dourif and Vincent D'Onofrio, I talk to them both, but there's something unsettling about Brad Dourif, whereas Vincent D'Onofrio, he's not assuming. He's unassuming. until he
Oh.
starts talking.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Until he actually does something, and then you're like, oh.
He's
Where
a
Brad Dourif, you're like, you
person-
can't trust that guy.
He's a
Right
person
off the bat.
that can do Shakespeare really well
Yes.
and
So
do
it's,
it
I think so. Yeah.
genuinely,
Yeah.
but can also go full on like Full Metal Jacket because he was in that.
Oh,
But
yes, he
like
was.
really he can go from educated, well spoken to
Yes.
pure rage.
Yes.
And that's something that Kingpin has to have, whereas Brad Dourif is more, and I'm going to say this, he's more Batman
Unhinged.
89.
Yeah. No, I
where
get
he's
what you're
because
saying.
I've seen some stuff of his where he has played a good old boy, and so I see him in that I'm a good old boy that's gonna smash your windows and cause a lot of chaos. He's got more chaos in him.
Yes,
than
that's what I'm
Vincent
trying to say.
D'Onofrio.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying. There's something more unhinged. Like, okay, so like he's more on the surface of the unhinged, whereas Vincent D'Onofrio, it's underneath. It's like bubbling. He's
Yeah.
mercurial. It's bubbling underneath the surface. You know that you could probably go off at any time, but he'll also quote. He'll start quoting
Yeah.
Shakespeare.
Yeah,
But Brad Dourif to me is always Lieutenant Suter, and that's what I always think of when I think of Brad Dourif, and which I thought he played, fantastically. I was really sad that they didn't know what to do with the character and they killed him off. Great character and played beautifully. So that's what I always think of when I think of Brad Dourif. But they have a lot of similarities.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure he played it fantastically. I am interested in learning more about Echo now.
Well, what I think we should do, especially for the nerd out, is we should watch these shows together.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And that way we can discuss each episode as it comes out. Now,
that would be great.
We'll do Echo, not all episodes at once. We will watch it. Probably we can all watch it. Whatever, but I want us to watch it together, and then do like 1 or 2 episodes,
like of a reviews.
Yeah,
reviews
for nerd out segments. Yes. So that's what I'm hoping with these drops is with this nerd out channel that we have now, that we can do stuff like that we can do group party watches of Loki season 2 and Echo.
I just realized we have little pictures of Loki and over there.
Yes.
I'm like, who is that woman above his head? What is he?
That's
I was
so
like, oh, that's
funny.
Echo.
So yeah, I mean, I'd love to do that with with some Stephen King stuff, like The Stand. I haven't seen the Stand, the new Stand TV series. I don't think I've seen the original either, but I'd like to.
If the strike goes on a while, we can absolutely do so.
Yeah, I mean, for horror segments, because I really enjoy the horror aspects of things. I love, actually, it's funny because, like, speaking of Star Trek, which is one of my favorites, I'm trying not to get into all of that, but speaking of Suter from Voyager, there's so many episodes in Voyager that are shot like horror movies. They're shot like it's much darker than a lot of the other series, and it's shot as if it's more horrific. It's very interesting.
I mean, I think, and I feel like that was on purpose. Like it was
absolutely on purpose.
Yeah, we're on our own. There's no cavalry to come and help us, so we kind
like
of have to get out of our own situations. So
the Macrovirus, there's an episode called Macrovirus, and it is straight up an alien. Like it's shot like an Aliens movie. It's really interesting. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Janeway's having her Ripley moment.
Well, as you do.
As you do. We all want to go and embody Ripley at different times, Anyway.
I mean,
well,
those of us that are immortal, we've done that.
Yeah,
well,
been there, done that.
Speaking of mortal.
Yes. Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat 1. So this is the new game that is coming out. I don't know if you guys have watched the trailer. I'm putting the trailer links into the chat for everyone who's watching this later on to know what we're discussing. So cool. I know you guys.
I haven't, and I'm probably not gonna.
There you go. There's phrase take.
That's my take. Although I have heard some interesting things about it, but yeah.
I'm excited. This is not about the game. I haven't seen much about the game, but I'm excited that Keith Urban is going to be playing Johnny Cage.
Carl Urban.
Yep. I meant Carl. I meant Carl
Yeah.
Urban.
It's
not
just
Keith.
a totally different
Carl.
vibe. If it's
Totally
like,
different person. Yeah, but Carl Urban is gonna. Yeah, no, not Keith Urban. Sorry, I keep saying the names wrong. Carl Urban is going to be I really, really like Carl Urban. I think anything he's done, he is just a master at it. So, because JDF is not not with us anymore, I'm perfectly fine with Carl Urban being
There you go.
Johnny Cage.
Yeah.
So I will. We have a special guest airing pre-recorded to play after this for the gaming part. I just wanted to say my piece. You know, I was discussing this with other people, and like people like, oh, there's already been Mortal Kombat 1. I go, technically, no, there's never been a 1 in the title.
It's just Mortal Kombat.
Just
Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'll say spoilers for a game that's been out for like 5 years, the ending of the last one.
Mortal Kombat 12? 11. Okay.
Yeah. So time got reset. Liu Kang became an elder god. He took over the powers of Raiden, and he reset Mortal Kombat because the timeline got so convoluted and complex. So they are redoing everything. So they're going back. So Liu Kang isn't the necessarily chosen one anymore because in the original timeline, he has to lose the tournament or for Outworld to lose overall. So like I said,
so he had to lose.
Mm-hmm.
So he was the one who was supposed to lose the original.
If he wins, it continues, and we kept getting all the Mortal Kombats because Shao Kahn would come along and do all these horrible things, and millions of people would die with the merging of the realms. Now, I'll say this is a fighting game, so, you know, take it for a grain of salt of the story. You know, some people read certain magazines for the articles, or some use those magazines to look at pictures. Fighting games don't necessarily have to be story driven. You know, I
wish they were, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, do you have to have 5 hours of cutscenes to go rip someone's heart out? Not necessarily.
Yeah.
But I do like that when they put the story scenes in the middle. I thought they did it with Mortal Kombat 10, and it actually was pretty fun and pretty good. Like the way that they did all of it, I thought it was great.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I'm excited for Mortal Kombat 1. I'm hoping that Mr. Force also gets it, so him and I can do it live gaming. I'm excited to see how that goes because we're going to be doing Street Fighter in a couple of weeks, so I want to see how Mortal Kombat 1 goes.
Speaking of amazing stories.
No, that would be great. You do Street Fighter and then you do Mortal Kombat 1 because those are so
iconic.
Like, yeah, I mean, and they're also very like. They came out around the same time.
They did.
People were obsessed with them. And that'd be a great 1-2 punch.
I was obsessed.
Yeah, right.
I
didn't play either of them, but I knew so much about both of them just because I knew people that were so obsessed with them. So
I was obsessed with Street Fighter 2.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've had people that are just like they still. To this day, talk about original Street Fighter, and I'm like, gotta let this go, man.
It's really good. It is a really good game. I was raised with Street Fighter 2 on the SNES.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, and then you got to think. So Mortal Kombat has all of this, you know, love, and then they did Street Fighter so dirty most of the time, and it's like hopefully. Now that Mortal Kombat the movies are doing well and they're actually getting traction and having
what are you talking about? The original movie was great. What are you talking about?
Both of them were from the 90s were fantastic.
Yeah. as much as Annihilation gets ripped apart to shreds, and I understand why, but it's not that it's like a mix. It's a mixed bag. Like there's some moments that are actually great in the second one in Annihilation, and then there are some where you're like, "What? WTF? What did I just watch?"
There's some cringe to it, but yeah,
there's some cringe. But Mortal Kombat 1 is definitely a great movie, and I adore it.
So I'm hoping that maybe because of Mortal Kombat being so successful, they'll look into Street Fighter again, and we might actually get a really good Street Fighter movie. And so I think that.
Yeah, we don't want another. We're gonna go up Reaver.
Yeah, we don't want another one of
We don't want another Street Fighter, even though I have a very special place in
I
my heart for
mean,
Street Fighter too.
This guy might, but
Oh, I love it.
The Street Fighter
love
movie
it.
is. I don't know what was up with Ryu and Ken being like convicts, but or
right.
just
There's
being.
so much like unexplained things in that movie.
There's
You're
so
just
many
like,
why how did this
gotta-
decision get made? Why is Guile French?
yeah. There's a lot.
What?
There's a lot of things, and it's just like, okay. And it was
But
in
Raul
that time
Julia
frame
is so wonderful.
where they just expected you to just kind of go with all of it. And you're like, no, I'm an intelligent adult and I need
It's so bad.
help with this. So
It's so bad. It's so bad in an entertainingly bad way, though.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
so
absolutely.
quotable. Like, for you, that was the worst day of your life. For me, it was a Tuesday. It's like, ooh,
Yeah.
such a great.
That's what I love about like really over the top, like good bad movies or bad good movies.
Oh, yeah.
whatever, that they
You
are
watch them
so
for that cringe
quotable.
factor.
They are
Mhm.
so quotable. It's like before memes, it was the quotes. If you had the quote, you knew.
I mean, one of the movies I hate the most, which we talk about all the time, I can't get away from the quoting of it. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't seem to
Oh,
get
yeah.
away from all those terrible sand. It gets everywhere. I
Yeah.
can't get away from it. It's really bad, and I hate that movie so much with a blazing ball of passion, and I hate it. And I still can't get away from the memeable quotes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Let's
Well,
move on.
let's get
Let's
into
move
let's
on.
get into our special report segment for Mezzo. I'll play this here,
Woot!
and we'll get into our next topic. Here we go.
She's our what is it? A reporter.
She's reporting.
Game
Field
reporter?
reporter.
Yep.
Yeah, field
All
reporter.
right. Here's Mezzo.
Hey guys, hey Nerd Out friends, it's Metso here to bring you some information about games that are coming out soon. First, I want to talk about Lord of the Rings Golem. This comes out on May 25th, and you're actually playing both Golem and Smeagol, and you're having to manage them while he's looking for the one thing that matters to most to him. His precious. Okay, anyway, so that looks really interesting. I'm going to also play some gameplay footage, so take a look. The next game I want to tell you about is Outlast Trials. It is in early access right now, and it's actually the third game in the series, and you can actually play either co-op mode or single mode, and you're actually abducted by a corporation making modifications to your psyche during these trials. And so if you're looking for a good scary game, Outlast Trials has always been very, very dark and scary. The last game I want to tell you about is Star Trek Resurgence, and that comes out May 23rd. And here are some gameplay footage I want you to see, but that is a game I definitely think many of you will enjoy. No Star Trek Star Wars hate, y'all. Enjoy. And that is it for upcoming game releases. Thanks.
Yay!
First
Thank
of all,
you.
she's adorable,
I love her.
and I love the whole "my precious," and she couldn't keep it. She like started giggling.
My precious.
That's it. I give it
So-
5 stars.
There you go. I think because I don't know about you, Captain, we have a Star Trek game that's choice based. I think that's gonna be a great thing to do for.
I wonder if
gaming.
from BioWare worked on it.
I don't
It
know.
looks great, though. It does look beautiful. I almost thought that was for a minute, though. I thought it was Spock right there. And
Yeah,
it's
I was
more
like,
obvious
why do
that
they
don't you go,
all gotta
why
look
is
like
Spock
Spock?
here? Hey, they could also look like Tuvok. I'm cool with that.
You know, I'm okay with
I
that.
love me some Tuvok. I'm all about the
Look,
Tuvok
I'm-
love.
Even okay with what Tasha's daughter, who was like half Romulan.
Oh, half Romulan, half human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, let's
I'm
go
trying to
old
think what her
school
name
with
is. Savick? No. What was her name? Oh
Something
my
like
gosh.
that.
Why
It
is
was-
it?
yeah.
Why is it? It's totally like. For some reason, her name is escaping me at the moment.
Well, on that note, names that can't escape you: Beetlejuice.
Oh yeah, Beetlejuice too. I'm super excited, actually.
So why don't you go ahead and tell us how excited you are, here, Captain, for Beetlejuice 2?
Well, I mean, we've been waiting for Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice 2 for a long time. A long time. We were hoping for this years ago. I mean, there were rumors in the early 2000s that there was going to be one, and then there was a rumor during the 2010s there was going to be one, and then there was a huge rumor going around that like 2 or 3 years ago they're like, yeah, it's going to happen, it's finally happening, and then they're like, no, just kidding, and now they're actually announcing it, which is really great. I'm excited about, just like how I'm excited to see. I'm so excited to see Michael Keaton back in Batman's chair. I'm really excited to see him doing Beetlejuice too. He's a great actor. I'm glad he's getting, his legacy. He's getting some legacy movies under his belt before, I think it's great. I'm excited about it. I'm glad Christina Ricci's coming back. I'm glad she's doing more things. She was out of the spotlight for a while.
Winona Ryder.
Is it not?
Yeah. It was Winona Ryder, yeah.
It was Winona Ryder. I think. Okay, sorry. I apologize.
They were both in Mermaids. It's okay.
It's fine. No, Mermaids was a great movie.
That
was a great movie. I like that movie. No, I don't know why Christina Ricci they said she was coming back. That's why I think I was confused. I think it's Christina Ricci is going to be in it, or is it's Winona Ryder, right? She's the one that's coming back. That's what I thought. Yeah. This is Winona Ryder, and I think isn't
Jenna Ortega.
Jenna Ortega. That's why I got confused.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because Jenna Ortega. Yeah, Winona Ryder coming back and replaying her role is fantastic. I'm excited about that. So.
Yay! I know.
Yay! I know Gina Davis, and I'm sad Gina Davis and. Alec Baldwin is not going to be in it, but it's fine.
Well, I mean, they moved on.
Makes sense.
Like their actual characters moved on. So
that's true.
Hard. Although I was like, man, I hope they're good, and I was like, no, they can't be in it. So unless I guess he brings them back for some reason, but
they didn't move on. They
didn't move on. They were still in the house afterwards.
Yeah.
They basically.
No, but I think in the second one they're going to say they moved on to the afterlife. And that's why they're not there.
Because she is now raised to an adult, and she probably doesn't need quote unquote need them anymore. Yeah, they were just being her parents,
right?
Basically.
Right. So, Frey, how I think on the scale of 0 through 10, how excited for you for Beetlejuice 2?
I really loved the first one, and I know that they had been talking about it over and over again, and some talk was they didn't have Winona Ryder in it. They weren't going to go that route. Some talk said that they weren't going to have Michael Keaton in it. And so I'm glad that they finally, when they're making it, they're both of the main characters, because they are the two main characters that you really have to have in the movie to continue the story. Mm-hmm. If they had changed Beetlejuice into somebody else, it wouldn't feel the same. If they changed Winona Ryder's character, I can't, like Letty, I think is her name. Lydia, that's it. Lydia. If you don't have her, it's like, well, I mean, you could do it, but it wouldn't be as good in my opinion. So I like this, and I like that they're doing it like it looks like they're going the Ghostbusters Afterlife route, mm-hmm. where it's just a continuation, but the time has passed. And so I think that's great. Instead of just being like, no, it's only like 5 years. It's like, no, you got to say time's actually passed. And I do like that that's where the sequels of things mm-hmm. that haven't been in the, in pop culture for a while, that's where they're going with it, because it brings reality back into it, so that you're not taken out of it. You're like, well, I've grown this much. Why can't they should have aged this much, and so I like that they're doing that. So I am really excited, and I'm going to say an 8, because I haven't seen enough yet, mm-hmm. but I am definitely going to watch it. And I just think him doing Batman, this whole Batman thing, mm-hmm. and then now Beetlejuice, I'm like, we're just basically, Michael Keaton is going back through his, the 80s and 90s. And so now I want Mr. Mom and Gung Ho.
Mr. Grandpa. Mr. Grandpa.
Yeah. He'll be like, have to teach his son, because he had a son in that, how to be Mr. Mom again.
Yes.
And so, or it'll be he is Mr. Mom and he can't be now, or something like that. They can do a twist. I'll talk to people. We'll make this happen.
Okay.
And then Gung Ho, I mean, you got that's like Seminole Keaton there.
Yeah.
Seminole Keaton. So yeah, and then we get Birdman in about 10 years.
Yes.
The next Birdman. So there we go.
Sweet.
Well, I had a question.
Michael, call me because I've got your whole next 10 years.
You can tell who's a big fan of Michael Keaton in this chat in this show. I had a question. So, do you think they're going to base anything on the cartoon series?
I was just about to bring that up.
Because I mean, like, I think you were because when you said Letty, it reminded me of that because that was the nickname I believe that he called her in the series. He would call her Letty.
Yeah.
And though, she was 14 and he's like this grown man, and there's almost this kind of quasi-romantic thing between them in the cartoon series.
I'm kind of hoping they
Kind of
don't.
weird. I hope they don't either.
Yeah.
I hope they keep him as like a villainous character. And
I just feel like he's the Chaos King. I mean, honestly, that's it.
I'd rather
It's
him
not
be a Chaos
even
King.
like good or bad. He's more of a Puck-like character in my
Okay.
opinion.
Fair.
Yeah. I mean,
Sort of.
because he does things that are bad, but then at the end he does things that are good. So it's like you don't really know where he's coming from, and I really love that. And I think
he's
Michael
like
Keaton-
chaotic neutral. Is that what you're basically
Yeah.
saying? He's chaotic
He
neutral.
really is.
He's
He
chaotic.
was like just chaotic neutral person, like in that movie. And I think that's where Keaton is the best. I mean, in Batman, we remember him saying, "Oh, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts." That's the most chaotic thing he could have done as Batman. And Batman was such an order figure. Like, you think Joker's the chaos, Batman's the order. And so, but they can be both. And I loved that take on it. Now, Tim Burton never read a Batman comic, and that's unfortunate.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate that he did not read a Batman comic. But I do like Michael Keaton's take on it. And I'm pretty sure Michael Keaton did read a few Batman comics, so he kind of knew where he was coming from.
Well,
So
he
I
was
liked that.
yeah. He was the one that embodied the best, I think, of both Bruce Wayne and Batman.
Now,
So
see,
others
I
have
think
certainly
actually
he kept the balance really
Affleck
well.
did it better. But I think that Affleck did it better because how he was given the character to do it better. Like the material that he had.
Sure,
Was,
he had a lot more
whereas
material to
Michael
work from.
Keaton had to come up with
Yes.
that balance. So,
Yes.
and I think that had Michael Keaton not done that, then Affleck wouldn't have been so good at doing it.
Yeah, and we know Ben Affleck was actually a really good or was a really huge fan of this theory or of Batman.
Yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
he
He's
knew
a
how to
huge
cut.
comic book fan. Yeah.
Yeah, I read that. It's just unfortunate that the movies are just so badly written that you really can't see that, which is a shame. It's a real shame because I know that had they had a better script, like I think Ben Affleck would probably be more beloved as Batman.
If he'd gotten to be Batman in his own movie, I think we would have seen a lot more. But he really was, I'm the Batman that's tagging along with everybody else, basically. And so I think that
I mean, I would have loved to have seen more what they had to do if they, brought Red Hood. I would have loved to have seen his own movie where we got to see a lot of the stuff that they hinted in Suicide Squad, and I would have loved to have seen a lot of that, actually.
But Keaton as Beetlejuice, I think was like him at his height, and his, and I really feel like it was, if we hadn't had Beetlejuice, we wouldn't have had the mask. And I think that's where, and I think Jim Carrey wouldn't have as much of a career if Keaton hadn't opened that door for him. And that's part of it. So Keaton is Michael Keaton is a really good actor.
He's an icon. Yeah, he's an icon.
I've seen him in so much. Like there's so many things that I'd be like, oh, I'd love a sequel for that. Oh, what about this? There's so many.
Yeah, apparently he's really compelling as the Vulture too. So
he is amazing as the Vulture, and also he did Duplicity. It's the Duplicity thing or Multiplicity. Multiplicity.
Yes.
Is what he was in.
Multiplicity.
He did really well in that too. I mean, that was crazy. He had to do like 3 or 4 different versions of
dozens.
himself.
Dozens.
Yeah, it was like crazy. It was, and so it was. I think he's done some stuff that hasn't been so great, but for the most part, the major stuff he's done, he's just knocked it out of the park. Like nobody thought he would be as good as he was in Birdman, and he was so amazing.
I mean, he was Harold. Like I was so interesting because I remember seeing like it come out of nowhere, and people were like, "Oh my god, Birdman!" Oh, like people were like all fawning all over that movie. I've still have yet to see it, but but I've heard nothing but good things.
It's really good.
But they're like, this is the Batman sequel we always wanted.
Right. I mean, it is. It's like it's like what it's kind of like what if you saw the psychosis that Batman was going through in the 80s.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I've heard it's really fantastic.
It's really good. And so I think his resurgence is just a nod to how good of an actor he is and how he can still do this. It doesn't matter what age he is. And I think that's great because you've got Indiana Jones and and Harrison Ford is getting up there. We're getting old-timey Batman. We're getting Beetlejuice again. So it's like, and you see all these older actors are getting these, being able to come back and revisit these characters that we loved as children. Now we can beloved them as adults. So.
I think it's really funny because so many people laughed at the Expendables movie. And I think honestly, the Expendables actually paved way for all of these older actors to get to do these roles again, because it got to show that no, older guys can still go and kick a lot of ass. Because then right after Expendables, you had RED, Retired but Deadly, or Retired Extremely Dangerous.
I loved the Red series.
I did too. But I'm just saying, like, if not for the Expendables, they, there was this whole thing of like older people can't do action flicks, like old men.
Yeah.
Old
Red
men.
was a comic book series too. So
it was, but
so
I'm just saying, like, I didn't really know that, but until afterwards.
Right.
But it's like. But people are all laughing at the Expendables, like, oh, these old men are trying to like go and do action. And then the Expendables was great. I actually really love the series. I think Expendables is so much fun to watch. It's so fun watching all these old actors just go and kick ass. So, yeah, of course you're paving the way for like, so Keaton can come back and do Batman. And because, now it's like, oh yeah, these are still viable, like action people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I'm excited for, which is why I also love Beetlejuice. I think Michael Keaton's in fantastic shape. I think he looks good. Like he really still like is so magnetic on screen. I think he's going to be perfect I think it's just going to be great. It's going to be fantastic.
He's going to be our generation's Dick Van Dyke.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Like, and people get upset that he played Bert in Mary Poppins, but he did a good job.
Wait,
his English accent was horrible in Mary
Michael
Poppins.
Keaton played.
No,
you're talking about Dick Van Dyke. Yeah. Okay.
But I'm just
I was
saying,
like, wait, what?
They all have those roles. Like there's a couple of roles that Michael Keaton has done. And you're like, I don't know about this.
Dick Van Dyke. I mean, apparently he was on The Masked Singer. God, he had so much energy. Like people were so surprised when it was revealed that it was Dick Van Dyke. I guess I don't know. I only saw the reveal. I don't really watch the show, but it was very emotional, and apparently people were just so surprised. Like, how are you carrying that around? How are you still singing and dancing and doing all this stuff? We know you're an icon, but you're like over 100 years old.
I'm just kidding. It's not
Adderall. I mean, he's still in great shape. It's really cool to see Dick Van Dyke doing that. So yeah, Michael Keaton's like our Dick Van Dyke. I like that analogy.
Yeah.
It's a good one. Anyways, Dempy, what about you?
Yes, so I'm going to throw out graveyards for Boating Tales predictions on this. So what I think is going to happen, while we do have Lydia dressed up as Lydia, I think what's going to happen is she's going to grow up and not be goth anymore, and we're going to have the emo version of Jenna Ortega being her daughter, who is also getting into this. And I think Beetlejuice, unfortunately, this is my prediction, is not going to be the main bad. I think Lydia is going to call on him because her daughter has gotten into something even worse than Beetlejuice.
Yeah, I think you're
so
right.
this is like a Scream thing then. So she's like going to be summoning something.
Yes.
And yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
I think
that she
yeah.
is going to be obsessed with the afterworld
Okay.
more so, just like her mother was. And her mother has grown out of that stage. And that's why we could say that, you know, Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin are no longer there because she didn't need them anymore because she grew out of that obsession with death. And then her daughter is going to figure out all the stuff. There's going to be a hint back to that chalk outline in the attic where they had drove, you know, on the fireplace and were able to go into the afterlife. I feel like there's going to be more of a crossover that maybe even her daughter goes through that doorway and also then is there. So then Lydia is going to have to go on to someone that she knows to help get her daughter back or bring her back from whatever the bigger bad is out
Mephisto.
there.
It's Mephisto.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what's going to happen. I don't think Beetlejuice is going to be the anti-hero in this because unfortunately that's what happens when you have a bad guy, and when he comes back for the sequel, he is the anti-hero.
Yes.
Like this.
He's just a chaos agent, but yeah, I agree.
Bruce Campbell to play the more evil.
We absolutely should.
I think that's
yeah. So like I said, that's my prediction. Is it's going to be that he's going to be required to come back and help out Lydia. Now he's going to have ulterior motives and maybe try to get out of the contract or whatever he may potentially have, so he gets sets free. Now, am I glad we didn't get the Beetlejuice Goes to Hawaii, which was the planned sequel forever?
Oh no,
I
don't want that. So I mean, I'm hoping
it would burn. It would. I mean, it would. Yeah.
It would not be good.
Not enough sunscreen in the world to keep that man from.
So it's.
Burning.
I think we don't have that, but I'm hoping that Tim Burton gets back to his stuff and not be crap anymore. He needs to stop being crap. And I'm hoping that because of everyone coming back, that they all agree on the script and realize this is where the characters need to go.
Yeah. Now, I think the first appearance of Beetlejuice in this movie, he should be wearing a Hawaiian shirt and have one of those drinks. And that'd be like, and he'd be like, oh, I was on vacation. What's up? You know, kind of just like that be the only like mention of that, like as like a tongue-in-cheek kind of, you know, we were gonna do this, but we decided against it. So
yeah, that would be awesome.
So yeah, like I said, that's my predictions for Beetlejuice 2. We'll revisit that.
Yeah, we'll talk about this a lot.
We'll talk about it.
And I think it's weird that this is considered a horror movie because I always thought it was a comedy. But then again, maybe it's just because
dark comedy.
I'm so skewed on that.
I mean, if James feels Haunted Mansion's horror, then this is outright terrifying for him.
Yeah, that's true. Poor James.
Oh, I mean, this is the closest. You know, horror is secondary on the list. I consider things to be true horror. Horror be the main genre. This is comedy first, and then horror. So this is like Tucker and Dale versus Evil type horror.
I mean, it's not quite silly, but there's some campiness to it. It's fun. It's fun horror. It's not.
John dies at the end. What is it? Odd Thomas. Those three are my like trifecta of dark comedies. So
you know what's funny about John dies at the end? So I actually found the original. No, I actually found the original. I found the original story actually before it became this huge phenomenon. I actually had read the when it was still just like a not fan fiction, but it was like it was posted on the internet.
Like a short story type thing, yeah. Like
it's not sure. I mean, it wasn't a short story. It was actually quite long. It was several. It was, I think it was like, I want to say it was like 12 or 13. It was quite long. It was not short, but it's kind of a weird story though. Like the story itself is very strange. So, yeah. That's
All
what I
right.
gotta say about that.
We got to get into our final segment here. We're running
All right.
short on time. I know it's not a phrase fortune, but still, Frey, they're out for us.
I guess this is a phrase, misfortune.
There you go.
So I watched the Snyder Cut
Mhm.
recently of
Oh,
Justice
man.
League. And I have had Guardians of the Galaxy 3 stuck in my head because I watched that recently as well. So I decided to kind of compare and contrast the two, considering that James Gunn is taking over DC, and this is the last movie that he's doing before he takes over for DC. So this might be a, hey, get the Authority movie, which is a group movie. I'm sure at some point they're going to be doing a Justice League movie again. So this kind of gives us an idea of how he does a group movie. And so I wanted to compare and contrast them. So when I was watching Zack Snyder's Justice League, the thing that really stuck out to me after seeing Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was how out of sync they are. Justice League is supposed to be the premier, like, #1 team, and there were characters we'd never met before in universe. We had the Flash, we had Cyborg, which was shoehorned in to the whole freaking movie.
Okay.
And so those were the things that really stuck out to me at first. They're out of sync. They don't trust each other. As a viewer, I was like, okay, great. The Flash's dad's in jail. If I hadn't read comics, I wouldn't know or care why. And Cyborg, okay, great. He was this football star and he almost died. And his dad saved him. If I hadn't read the comics or seen the cartoons, I wouldn't care about this character. So there's two characters I don't really care about as a viewer. Then you've got emo Superman, who's dead in it, and then you've got Batfleck, who basically forgets that he's this suave billionaire, super, moody guy from Gotham whenever Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman's around. And so I'm like, okay, there's a lot of stuff going on in this. And this is over 4 hours of a movie. And I don't feel like you resolved a lot of it. We beat the bad guy. Yay. And Wonder Woman got to cut off his head.
Yeah.
I'm always about Wonder Woman violence. So that's my favorite part of the movie. That is the reason I watched the movie to begin with. I was like, I want to see this movie because I want to see Wonder Woman cut Steppenwolf's head off. That was the only reason I rewatched it. So we got all of this. Whereas when you look at Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, everything that they did, all of the characters were in sync. We cared about what happened. We cared about Cosmo and Kraglin's relationship. We cared about if Drax made it through alive. We cared about how Mantis felt and the relationship between Mantis and Drax. We cared about Nebula. We cared about Gamora. And this isn't even the same Gamora that we had in prior movies. I mean, we cared about all of them. We cared about all that. We cared about Rocket and Groot. And, having Rocket in the situation that he was in for the most of the movie had us on edge for that. We had, and granted, it's a third movie, but even in the first one, we cared about those characters and we didn't know any of them. By the end of that movie, we were like, oh my gosh, oh thank goodness they made it. They made it. So I feel like I'm all about lyrical right now. To me, everything needs to be lyrical. And that just means that it's like a symphony. It all has to make sense. You are going to have some discordant notes because that's what the drama is. But it has to make sense and it has to have that movement that is almost a dance, a musical,
Right.
almost to the point, even if it's not a musical. Guardians of the Galaxy did that. The
Right.
hallway scene, perfect example, is that you could take the camera from one character to another and you knew that through line.
Yeah.
In
Yes.
Justice League, there's a couple of scenes where they're all together and they're all fighting. They get in each other's way. Most of the time it's, oh, I've got to save everybody else. They're all heroes. Let them do their job.
Yep.
And they don't do that. And so that was where I was seeing that. I feel like Zack Snyder's Justice League tells us everything we needed to know about his universe. It wasn't connected. There was nothing like Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Wonder Woman. The best thing about that movie was they introduced Wonder Woman, but they didn't need to. She didn't even need to be there for any of it. The only reason she was there is to introduce her before her movie came out.
Yeah.
And whereas Guardians of the Galaxy, everything that was introduced through all three movies had a purpose and had a payoff to that purpose by the third movie. And that's my compare and contrast on them. I just think that Justice League, they said, no, we got to get this out because there's so many group movies that the MCU is doing. We got to get this one out. And they didn't take the time to introduce the characters so that we could love them and know what the stakes were if something happened. But I mean, that movie, we hardly even saw people, just regular people in it. The only people we saw were people that were associated with, in some way, to the heroes that basically saved the earth. And it was visually stunning. It was a beautiful movie. I feel like maybe they had too many songs. And they could have cut out a lot of the songs and it would have been 45 minutes less time for me to watch it. And it wouldn't have lost anything. You know, the slow-mo things are like, I would love to see somebody as a director and Zack Snyder as director of photography. And I think that would be an amazing movie because that's what he does. But
he does,
James Gunn does all of it. He knows exactly what he wants. He makes it work. He makes it work lyrically. And every beat is a... Zack Snyder produces superhero movies for people who are used to missing issues on the regular. Yeah, he does. That's true. But I just think that that you could tell, like if you put these movies up against and said, okay, who would win? You know, which team would win in this situation? It's going to be Guardians all the time.
Yes, because they work better. They work because Snyder's
intention.
Yes.
You know, it's like the whole reason the Justice League got together was because of some weird prophecy thing that none of them were real clear on. Like somehow he's returning. It was like Palpatine all over again. And
mother boxes, come on.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of mother boxes. And so that's like, had I not read the comics and had I not known all that I know of the universe, I wouldn't have gotten half of the movie. And so I'm just like, yeah, this is great. And you know what? Wonder Woman got to cut off Steppenwolf's head and he deserved it. I'm not saying he didn't. You know, Superman came back in his black costume. Had I not known the significance of that costume from the comics, I wouldn't have given a crap. So it's like, and these characters that nobody knew, we are so in tune with them that we didn't want any of them to die at the end of this movie. And these are like, honestly, in the comics, they're C-rate characters. And so I'm like, he took characters, and he did it in the Suicide Squad too. He took characters that were not well known and not well loved and made us sit at the edge of our seat to make sure they all made it out alive.
You talking about for Suicide Squad 2 or just regular
The
Suicide
Suicide
Squad?
Squad, yeah.
The second one.
Yeah, the one that James Gunn did. So I mean, and you can see it in that one too.
I'm gonna have
Even
to
though
watch it.
they don't know each other very
Mhm.
well, there are scenes in that movie where they all are the hero. Every single person in that movie gets to be the hero. Now, granted, it's their own skewed version of heroism, but
Right,
it
more
is,
anti-heroes
and
than
the
heroes.
Guardians
Mhm.
as well. So I really, this is what gives me hope. So everything I see from James Gunn leading up to this, and then see what Zack Snyder did leading up to his stuff, tells me that DC's in the right
Cool.
areas. So, but yeah, so that's my compare and contrast. What do you guys think?
No, I
Great. I thought
Yeah.
it was great.
there you go. It's great. Good.
Good. I like
Great.
your contrast and compare. I was not. I was like, okay, cool. We got the Snyder cut. Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. Okay. Why do I
I
care?
mean, you know, the Flash stuff, like him at the end and that whole like inner monologue, it was great. And it will be really good as a payoff in the Flash movie because we have a little bit of that to see it.
Hmm.
But it's like you can't just say this little part of this movie is good and it be a good movie. It
Right.
all has to, you have to have the intention all the way through, and there wasn't. Like, it meandered so many different places, and even the theatrical cut was so disjointed that, I mean, I'm really glad that we're not keeping with the Zack Snyder universe is basically what
I'm
I'm
so
saying.
done with it. I don't want it
Ugh.
anymore.
Maybe I can start wearing, you know, colors again. Because
Right.
everything was so depressing. I was like, oh my
It's
God.
just not good. It's not even well written depressing. I mean, that's the problem. It's just not. It's not. I mean, when Man of
Welcome,
Steel came out,
Zack Snyder fans.
I was hoping for something better, and it just wasn't good. And then you had Dawn of Justice, which was awful.
That's why I call it Dawn of Wonder Woman.
Mhm.
Is because that was the best
Yeah,
part of that movie.
She's the only good thing in that
Yep.
movie, and just the whole what is a Martha? I just
Oh gosh.
it's not good. This is just not good writing. It's just terrible. Like you had all these good setups of things, right? Like you had the great setup of like Bruce Wayne. You can understand his anger because you know he was in the city and watched it getting destroyed and all that. And you had that good stuff to drive off from point. And then it just
Yeah.
gets dropped. It's
Yeah.
just goes nowhere. And the reason why they're fighting is like completely so arbitrary, anyways. Like
Yeah.
there's none of that being used. It's just not well written. It's just really, really badly written. And then you know,
Oh, definitely.
Superman is
Absolutely agree.
Jesus. Like,
Well, I mean, he is kind of a Jesus figure, but not in that. Like,
not in
in
that way. I mean, that's not what he was
where
originally written as, anyway.
it was like it was like Zack Snyder took too much of the comics into consideration and didn't adapt it in a way that people that hadn't read all of the comics but may know the character could still relate to the character. And I think that's it. I mean, if you look at Watchmen, that's actually almost panel for panel,
Yes.
scene to scene.
Yes.
And so he didn't want to do that over again, but he did a lot. Like the Batman versus Superman, there's a comic arc about that.
But they did it better.
Returns.
But they did it better in the cartoons. The way that they did it in
Yeah.
the cartoons actually was apropos to the comics, and it was also really well done. It was done so much better than this. Actually, you felt why they had certain beefs, how they got kind of under each other's skin. Like, I mean, it was just way better done. And they could have done better. I mean, it just was not. It was contrived. There's so much contrivance in Dawn of Justice that you're like, why do I care? Like,
Well,
you
half the
don't care.
movie
It's stupid.
is
It's
Batman
arbitrary.
versus Superman, and then at the very end, Doomsday comes and kills Superman. So it's like
Right.
he was trying to put two movies into one.
Right.
They could have done Doomsday itself, and
It's the
that's a
Spider-Man
different
3
movie.
problem. It's the
Yeah,
Spider-Man
it's the
3
Spider-Man 3.
paradox.
Yep. Too much lore to put in, and they just threw it all.
It's
at the
just not
wall
well
by
done.
mistake.
It's just not done well. It's just I don't know how these scripts get greenlit.
All right, we are at the top of the hour here to end this.
Yes.
So let's go ahead and get into pluggables. And we'll start with who's on screen right now, Captain.
Oh, Hi, I'm the captain. You see me all over the place. I'm. Wow. Why do you care? No, you can
You care a lot. You care a
you can
lot.
find me on Spotify. You can find me all over this channel. Sometimes I'm on Retro Alcove, maybe someday, I hope. And I do a lot of shows with Mr. Fours. We do recording shows right now. We're doing Mass Effect Legendary, the legendary version of Mass Effect, which is actually one of my absolute favorite game series.
Right there with
And
you, sister.
Hmm?
In 7 for life. In 7 for life.
and Seven for Life, yeah. Shepherd Forever. Yeah, I'm an actress. I'm a singer. We all know the spiel now that I do all those things. You can go on Spotify and check me out on there, and you can see me here. And you should stay tuned for more projects, including the New Order, which hopefully we'll have these two lovely people in there. And that's pretty much it. That's me.
Thank you.
Hey.
Chaos Queen.
Hello, I'm Frey Girl. I am here every Saturday on the Nerd Out, as long as they'll have me. And I am on Tuesdays. I do the download with our sister channel, Distance Nerding. I mod for both channels and other channels that shall not be named. And
Nah,
and
don't say that.
huge, wonderful Wonder Woman fan here, as you can see behind me.
Yay!
This is like a 16th of what I have Wonder Woman wise. And that's me. You can actually get me on at Fraygirl on Twitter. I am at Gotham.Oracle on TikTok and Gotham_Oracle on Instagram. And I am very active on Twitter. I tend to say, I have insomnia. What should I watch tonight? Kind of thing, and randomly tweet about it. Yeah, so I am, and I do tend to just randomly have weird thoughts about things, like Wanda. Like if Wanda were a Batman villain. That's actually the one I'm most proud of right now, I think. So, and the Star Sapphire with the Justice League thing, I think that was totally meant to be a thing. Anyway, that's who I am. And let's see Graveyard, because he has more interesting stuff to talk about.
Yes, I am Graveyard, co-host of the Mostly Pod Out at Night, Mostly podcast. We're in a transition phase where our podcasts are going to Comic-Con Radio, so make sure to check and follow us out on all social media at Pod Out at Night to see where all the details are coming out for that. So stay tuned for that. So everything social media, Pod Out at Night. You want to talk horror with us? Join our Kyber Cave Discord server. We want to talk nerdy with you. We want to talk horror movies. We want to talk gaming with you. So make sure to check this out. Top that, you can find me here multiple days a week at Kyber Cave Productions. You can find me Thursday nights on the Build with Distance Nerding, our sister channel, doing all the brackets and all the DC stuff that I know nothing about. So,
are you doing more DC brackets this Thursday?
We're doing
Tuesday
all DC.
Or Thursday.
Thursday. We're doing all DC until we're done with DC. Which is
okay. I'll be there for that then.
Yes.
Because it's Blue Beetle summer, baby.
Yes. And make sure to like, comment, subscribe to this video. Make sure to share it out, because if you like free lightsabers, the more you share this channel out, the more chances you have to win lightsabers, like this awesome one here, the Graveyard. Now you can't win this one, but if you go to kybercave.com, you can get the sexiest Graveyard, which is this right here, and top of the Frey, which is coming out relatively soon, the Captain as well. It helps support us, and you can do that. But if you join our Patreon, you can enter to win free lightsabers for as little $1 a month. You can enter to win free swag. And make sure to share this out, because the more subscribers we have, the more chances you have to win a lightsaber. So,
yes.
And once you get your lightsaber, go out to saberfonts.com, where you can support our boy Forrest and his friends Harry Castle and Juan Sith, and get saber fonts for them as well. Like I said, join our Discord server. We want to talk nerd to us. Let's grow this community. Let's make this happen. Yes. And on behalf of everyone here, I'd like to thank all you cavers, dwellers, and splunkers for joining us. And we'll see you next time. You have a good weekend.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.